Hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to you. Welcome back to the Competitive Speed Series. My name is Frostbreath, or Rob, and we have arrived now at the penultimate round of this season. Season 4, which so far has been absolutely epic and brilliant. Last week, we went to the Mystery GP, which turned out to be Mexico, and that also turned out to be the day that my voice decided to not be there whatsoever. So, yeah, I had to skip, unfortunately, commentating the last race, but I'm back now for the penultimate round, and we've gone to Hungary, actually, or as Canada likes to say, Hungary. So the time has come to see which team is going to claim the title very soon. It will not happen tonight yet, because as you can see here on the standings, it's an actual tie. It's a tie on top of the board between FVR and TF10. They both have 411 points precisely after all the penalties and steward decisions have been made. And that's how it is right now. The two top teams, which have been battling it out through most of the season, are now equal on points. I mean, you can't expect much more than that. It's definitely cooking. And therefore, both teams have decided to bring out some serious weaponry tonight. Especially FVR, who decided to bring out Diego Zorzo and Ismael Fashi, which we all know is an esports driver. So definitely some serious weapons for the team of the Mercedes cars. Then for TF10, we've got Tony Richer, also a very quick driver, alongside Tias Korsman, who won last week's race in Mexico for the team, making sure they went up equal to the standings. It's quite incredible to see what's happening tonight with these two teams, as currently we're still waiting for one driver for the ABS team. I believe that's Journey Dovjan, who we haven't heard from in quite a while. His teammate Richard Kunik is currently in, but we're waiting for him to hopefully join in time. Otherwise, ABS will be one driver down. And speaking of the team, they're currently sitting in P8 in the standings, 160 points. And they are falling behind CPI right now for the battle for 7th and maybe even higher than that. Although P3 is going to be no longer possible for the veteran team. As for that third position, it's ZNT, ET8, NLR, and even TTM and CPI are still within a shot of that place right there. CPI currently in 7th and ZNT in 3rd with 256 points. That's 27 points clear of ET8 at the moment. NLR in 250, then TTM and CPI in 1 point apart, 202 as opposed to 201. Then ABS with 160, and of course, as usual, fighting for that 9th position, the TGF and EVE, now 10 points apart, 30 and 20 points. They've quite upped their points tally then, apparently, last week in Mexico. The race I did miss, they've done quite well. Tonight, TGF has brought along Christian Lubinov and Mr. Pike, and EVE have brought along Elku, and let me quickly scroll down in the lobby list, Jivodar. So, two familiar names for the team there, back in business. We're currently getting started. Looks like Journey might be a no-show. Of course, it's still possible to join during qualifying, but I believe that does mean a qualifying ban for Journey Dovjan. That would be quite a shame, and it's going to hurt them even more in the fight for a position higher than only P8, because we're used to them being a little bit better than that. It could really depend on their driver joining tonight, because after this there's only one more round, and therefore this could be a crucial moment for them. I've changed several things to my streaming setup, by the way. I've got a stream deck, which means I can now press buttons at the go. So, like for example, this is my face cam. Hi. This is the button for standings, the button for calendar. It all works brilliantly, and therefore we also have a button for game. There we are. It's working quite flawlessly at the moment. Let's hope it stays that way through the entire session. I also have a fancy new thing made by Byron. A fancy new graphic, which should appear on your screen right now. There we are. This is apparently the weather that's going to happen. 26 degrees at the moment and cloudy, so it's pretty accurate. And the forecast is a potential bit of rain coming up, but that could be for the race as well. And we all know that the lobby is going to be restarted. Richard Kunik has retired. I think he might serve a qualifying ban. I haven't checked on that, But we're going to quickly switch to the track because several drivers are out on track already. Of course, collisions are off. That is Danny van Ruiten. And if you're wondering why you're pronouncing it so weirdly, he's Dutch, I'm Dutch, and I know how to pronounce his surname. That is Van Ruiten. So it's going to sound a little bit out of place for those who are English by nature, so to say. Let's see here what everybody is going to do then. We've got both Mercedes cars out as well. Diego Zorzo and of course Ismail Fasci for FVR currently heading through the middle sector. That is turns 5 all the way down to turn 10-ish. And turn 11 even is part of sector 2 as well. It's looking like Danny's got quite a bit of a queue behind. One of the the TF10 cars is behind. That's Tony Richet, who tried to claim the position and going for the first hot lap. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do it and therefore had to wait a little bit. He's now causing a massive queue himself, and it's quite busy in the final 2 corners, I have to admit. But we're going to switch our attention to the first man out on track. That's Danny van Ruiten for CPI. The team this season has been plagued by several things. That's why they're only 7th in the standings at the moment. I think they could have done loads better. Look at that, Danny throwing his car through turn 2 and putting down the power as he approaches the end of the first sector. We'll get a very first benchmark of what the drivers can do tonight with a 26.4 for the Dutchman right here. And let's of course switch to our esports driver. Let's see what Fasci can do. 26.3, that's about a 10th quicker than the McLaren driver at the moment. Showing already the speed is definitely there. This is of course a banker lap, meaning they will not go flat out just yet. We all know Hungary is quite tricky in terms of track limits, especially through the middle sector, and this corner in particular, the exit of turn 11. If you take a little bit too much speed right there, you'll easily go off the track and invalidate your lap straight away. It's going to be an interesting session here to see which team will claim the top spot in Hungary, which is a crucial one, especially here with Hungary being a difficult track to overtake on a 13.295 for Danny. Tony Richet then slotting in third with 30.5, 13.2 for Luca Ripasa, but Ismail Fasci a 12.8, already slapping 4 tenths, nearly half a second to the next car in line. That is currently Luca Ripasa for ET8. And it's definitely showing that FVR brought the big guns tonight. We're switching our attention to Mr. Pike for TGF. A lot of drivers have crossed the line already. Several, though, have gone back into the pit lane, not satisfied with the lap. Either that or they have invalidated it. Meaning that Mr. Pike is the next to cross the line. He goes 10th fastest with a 13.8. Just ahead of Givadar. Once again, TGF and EVE fighting it out in the back of the field. It's something I think they've grown used to ever since the season has started. Then we can see here Tristan Debicord with a 13.532, 2 milliseconds at the moment slower than Tony Richet. And speaking of TF10, they are only in 4th and 5th at the moment, with TS Korsman with a 13.2 being the fastest of the two. That's interesting. And they have only got one driver out with a lap time at the moment, as Diego Zorzo has gone back in a lap earlier. Might have invalidated his attempt, but we do know Diego, it's very, very quick, so we might see a very dominant race potentially for FVR. I'm surprised they've managed to get an esports driver to race for them tonight, as he's now part of the FVR group. Anyway, drivers still out on track. Christian Lubinov, the other TGF drivers, just set a hot lap of a 14.669. And that is quite a lot slower than Givadar, so there's probably a mistake somewhere in his hot lap. And he's going to have to try again in the next attempt. 30 minutes still remain, so no worries. Still plenty of time to go for him. Ismail is FVR. Williams is his side quest. Well, let's see how his main quest is going to work out then, as his teammate is currently on his way to try again in the second Mercedes. You can see 7, without the lap time still. A lot of drivers then having to put up their game, making sure their 4 tires stay within the white lines. Let's see if Diego can do the same, so we join him on board. Approaching turn 1, several drivers ahead of him. That's Luca and Danny, who've come out for their second attempt. As they move out of the way quite nicely, because even if collisions are off, you can still quite alter or hamper the lap time of somebody who's on a hot lap and has to drive straight through you, because, you know, even ghosts can be a distraction. Diego Zorzo then on the limit, pretty much 26.3, like his teammate. So we could see potentially another 1 minute 12 coming for FVR here as he heads through the chicane. In 5th gear then, moving his way, or throwing his car around the corners right here as fast as possible. Then carrying as much speed as they can without touching the white lines or going over them. In fact, 52.1 through Sector 2. And then approaching the final bit of the track right here, Sector 3, which contains only 3 corners really. All 3 of them are quite tricky to get right, especially the last 2. Then turn 14 right here. And all he needs to do right now is cross the line and see if he can get any close to his teammates. It's a 13.1. That's the closest yet, but still, nobody else has managed to do that 1 minute 12 except for Fashi. Several other drivers have now started the hot laps. Looks like Elku for EV is doing quite well in the battle for 9th place. The battle for any position above that has pretty much been lost already. With only 2 rounds to go and about 130 points behind the next team of ABS in 8th place. It means they now have to try and beat TGF with everything they have. And at the moment, especially Elku is doing quite well. Unfortunately, this qualifying attempt is not going to be it. 1.1 seconds slower. And he's abandoned it straight away. Let's see if we can find somebody else then. Sasha Neeb for ZNT on his way at the moment through the chicane right there. ZNT having a bit of a mixed season, but not a lap time for him at the moment. I'm trying to find somebody who's on an actual lap. I think Passy, I believe this is Pascal Sankbile for TTM, is currently on the hot lap. His teammate Lighty has done extraordinarily well, forcing himself onto the top 3 of qualifying for now with a 13.219, beating Luca Rupasa to align with it. Speaking of whom, currently on his way back to the start-finish line right there as he comes onto the main straight. DRS is going to be wide open, just meters before the line, and improving. Yes, he does. 13.0 and getting closer to that magical 1 minute 12 limit. Tony Richer currently with a 1 minute 13.1 improved as well. TS Korsman, whoa, look at this. Something interesting going on right there. Is currently only down in 8th place. Not going brilliantly then for last week's race winner. Let's hope he can improve for sure. As the team needs it tonight. They really, really need it. Otherwise, the battle last week will, or next week actually, will be very, very tough indeed. I think most drivers have now completed their second attempt, trying to find somebody who is currently on his way. Mr. Pike has improved to P12, just behind Elku right now. Looks like once again both teams are very close to one another. Christian Lubinov might still be on his way. Yep, about half a second quicker through Sector 1 alone, so definitely a mistake has been made. Yeah, nice. TS got blocked by 2 different cars. That's unfortunate. Tony once. That's explaining quite something, because can't imagine TS being slow around this track. Especially if you won the last race. Christian Lubinov about to cross the line. Where does he go? 1 minute 14.1. Still can't break into 1 minute 13s. He's just under 2/10 slower than one of his rival cars, Jividar, as he nearly locks up into turn 1 after this attempt, fortunately. So no harm done right there. Trying to lower my chair a little bit here because apparently the armrests are touching my desk and it's making a weird sound. Anyway, who is currently on an outlap? It's actually the man on provisional pole at the moment. In the middle sector as we are watching him right here. But several others are ahead of him, including his own teammate, Diego Zorzo. He will be starting a hot lap soon. We haven't watched Ismail Fashi yet, so I suggest we do that when he starts his hot lap. One of the Ferraris on his way as well. Sasha Neeb, currently 14th with a 13.657. 7 milliseconds slower than Pascal Sankbeil. Carson saying this is Givadar's race to win. Well, you'll need a little bit of luck, to say the least, to make that happen. And 2 seconds to go to provisional pole. Anyway, speaking of provisional pole, let's watch the man that's still occupying it. And only Luca Ripasa has managed to get almost within 2/10 of this Esports driver right here. As he goes through turn 1, the car looking quite stable indeed. Christian Luminov retiring in the pit lane. Something is definitely not working out for him then, because he's retired quite early. There's still plenty of time left to do another attempt. There might be some issues then for the man in TGF. Sector 1, 61 milliseconds quicker for Ismail Fashi. I was about to say he's got in very close to the white lines, but it wasn't that close at all. But it looks like he's pretty much on the limit as he heads through the chicane right here. Turns 6 and 7, and then he has to negotiate with the middle sector. Let's see how he does that, throwing the cars around like his own teammate right there. Diego Zorzo is about to finish his lap, and he goes to a 12.8 as well. And now we've got an FPR front row. 1/10 quicker than Ismail Fashi goes on the Hungarian racetrack right here. Then 2 more corners to go. Throws his car into turn 13. Let's see whether that brings him bad luck or not. No, it doesn't. And wow, look at that. Excellent line there. And full throttle as he goes across the line in 1 minute 12.6. Again, 2/10 clear from the next car, which has now become his own teammate. Danny van Ruiten has improved as well. He's gone into the magical 1 minute 12 limit for the CPI team. So it looks like the McLaren team has brought some big guns with this man as well. Isaac Lead sitting in 7th. There could be some serious points on the board then for the team, and they need that. They really, really need that. They still, I believe, if my math was correct, they might not have a shot at 3rd place anymore, but they might still have a shot at a prize-paying position, P5 or 4. So they've done well on bringing in these 2 drivers tonight, because they are looking very quick. TTM also has improved massively with Pascal Sankbeil going up to P9. Both NLR drivers, by the way, in case you haven't noticed yet, have retired, serving a double qualifying ban, it looks like. That's a good question there in the chat as well. I haven't checked it properly. I couldn't find any qualifying ban announcements in the steward decisions thingy. And thank you, Ace, for confirming that, or Nico, whoever is controlling the chat right now, that MLR has a double qualifying ban to serve. So the Aston Martin's not out on track tonight. They're going to have to wait until the race. Same goes for Richard Koenig, of course, and Christian has retired as well. It's very unfortunate for him. Let's see if I can find some issues. Whether he said something in the chat. No, he hasn't. Looks like Red Bull is having some issues with the drivers trying to get into their boxes. With 4 minutes remaining, we'll still have plenty of time anyway, so no harm done. Mr. Pike still sitting at 13th. Wow, pushing really hard through turn 13, by the way, and immediately going in. That's a big shame, because he was about a 10th up, I believe I saw that correctly. That's a shame. That would have definitely brought him ahead of Elku, and even ahead of Danny Coe for ET8. We haven't watched Danny Coe yet. Currently sitting in the middle of the pack. 13.6, just behind Tristan Derbicourt and ahead of Elku. Looks like he's going to have to fight with those drivers behind especially. All of them are within the same 10th of a second. 13.6 for all 4 of them. Danico, Elku, Mr. Pike and Sasha Neeb. It's like ZNT is having a bit of a struggle tonight. Journey is now race banned since he didn't join. That's a shame. It looks like Richard Koenig is on his own, starting from 17th. Ouch. It's gotta hurt them. It will allow CPI to run away a little bit. Actually, I think I mixed up the points of CPI and ABS. I think CPI does still have a shot at 3rd place. That definitely justifies their driver lineup for tonight. I mean, look at this man, Danny van Ruiten, 12.9. 2.5 tenths away from provisional pole. But can he bring the fight to Ismail Fashi, though? That's the question. Fashi's teammate Diego Zorzo is out already. 2 minutes remain, and that means the track is going to become very, very busy indeed. And that's the understatement of the day, I think. Looks like the drivers went out quite early. For example, Elku and Diego, and even Danny and possibly Lighty as well. Or actually, that's Pascal. Will have somewhat of an empty track ahead of them. The others are going to have to find a little bit of space. Ismail Fashi left it a little late, but Givadar left it even later to go out. With 1.5 minutes remaining, he just exited the pit lane. I think that should still be enough time. We're going to switch our attention to his teammate Elku, who's going to start his hot lap right here. Let's see what he can do in his last attempt. 1 minute 20 remains. If he wants to enter the top 10, he has to find, well, preferably 3/10 of a second. We'll bring him up to P9. But that will be quite the tight time to get into the top 10 right there, because everybody else will most likely improve as well. There he goes. Elku, what can he do in Sector 1? He's being chased by Diego in the Mercedes. You can see him in the background, 1/10 quicker already. He's looking quite strong straight away. He needs it. That 9th place is getting a bit further away now. 10 points separate these two teams. And since they fight in the midfield to lower field, not many points are handed out to them either way. Every point counts now with 2 rounds remaining. Sector 2 then for Elku. Wow, look at that. Almost 3/10 quicker right there. He's definitely living up to what I said he should do. And then soon we'll switch our attention to Diego, by the way. He's currently closing in quite rapidly. You can see on the minimap his dot has come quite closer. A lot closer to the Sauber's dot on the minimap. Then across the line, Elku, 13.1, P7. That is an extraordinary lap time for him. And Diego Zorzo can't get to his teammate, but he still remains in second place. 12.7, what can Danny do? He can't improve. Looks like one TTM driver goes in, and the other one goes to cross the line. 2.5 tenths quicker, 12.9 as well. There was, I believe, Tristan Derbecourt improving to a 10th, or remains 10th actually. Many drivers are now starting to cross the line. T.S. Korsman has invalidated. That's very unfortunate. He only stays 9th fastest, with his teammate going up to P6. Well, on the Alpines there, Mr. Pike crossing the line. There was Danny Coe improving to P12. Let's see then if Ismail Fashi can improve his dominance on the rest of the field. He was slower in the middle sector. He can't improve on this final run. Stays, though, on provisional pole. And as far as I'm aware, nobody's going to improve that one anymore. And that means, yes, Ismail Fashi will start from pole position with Givadar, the last one to finish a hot lap, improves to a 1 minute 30.6, but stays last of the not retired qualifiers. And that means the end of this qualifying session has happened, with FVR dominating with a 1-2 for the Mercedes cars right there. And their main rivals, who won last week, are in serious trouble. Well, that means all we have to do now is wait until the lobby gets restarted. We're just waiting for the final drivers to pit their cars into the box. And then we'll be on our way. Elku indeed a very decent lap. And he'll be, his team will be absolutely happy with him there. P8. I think that is potentially a season best for the team overall. A 13.1, a massive improvement, by the way, from what he did before that attempt. And that means he can start from 8th with Ismail Fashi from pole position. Diego Zorzo 1.5 tenths behind in second place. Of course, he will not be attacking his teammate right there, as they can claim a 1-2 here and hold in a lot of points. Luca Ripassa in 3rd place, then Danny van Ruiten in 4th, Lighty in P5, Tony Richet P6, Isaac Lead in 7th, Elku P8, T.S. Korsman in P9, and then Tristan Derbecourt in P10. Then below them, Pascal Sengbeil, Danny Coe, Sashanib, Mr. Pike, Givadar, and Christian Lubinov, all who have qualified for the race. And then without the lap time here, Richard Koenig, and both LLR drives of Herman Polyakov and Victor Whittler. So, I would normally say your predictions for the race win. Which team is going to win the race? Wow, look at this. The weather prediction was definitely correct on this one. It still needs to update, apparently. But there's a lot of rain falling down. Unfortunately, that's not the weather that's going to happen for the actual race, because we have to restart. Which might potentially change the weather. We all know it's going to be reset to dynamic, which will be a relief to most drivers. And some others will not like it because they enjoy the rain. And we all know that there is several drivers who actually up their game when they are in wet conditions, and they are a lot faster than when they go around in the dry. Should leave it wet. Who knows? Drivers retiring straight away, that's good. Let's see how quickly they can do it this time. Let's see how they're going to retire here. Whether they're going to go straight on. Ismail Fashi drifting through turn 1, but look at Rapasa making a right show out of it. Reversing into turn 1, which is quite a spectacular sight. His teammate doing the absolute same. As Luca decides to return to the start of the track. That's another way to do it. And he gets disqualified straight away for going the wrong way, obviously. You don't want to do that in the real race. Diego Zorzo has decided to carry on anyway. And retiring. There we go. That was quite quick. Within a half a lap. Reasonable. Full wet. Make it crazy. I think several people are agreeing with Ace already. But you know, the rules are the rules. And I think it would not be appreciated if we decide to change it for this race. Because it's all just because it's full wet. Yeah. Bro wanted first. That's for sure. And that's exactly what he gets. At least in this non-official start. And that means we're going to have a little bit of a break. And, well, it shouldn't take a lot of time, because restarting with everybody in only takes a few minutes at most. It also allows me to refill my glass of water. And I'll see you very, very soon. Indeed, let's actually press the button which says Inter dot on my Stream Deck. Let's see what happens. And just like that, with another press of the button, we get back in business. I really like my stream deck, I'm sorry. Let's get going, is what just was said in the Discord chat for the drivers, which means we'll be going very, very soon indeed, with 35 laps coming up here on this epic track on Hungary. The Hungaroring, of course, we all know it quite well. 14 corners of epic racing coming up right here, with FVR dominating qualifying, with Diego Zorzo and Ismail Fashi starting on the front row together in a 1 and 2, not respectively, because Ismail Fashi is the one starting on pole and Diego Zorzo is the one starting in second place. We're also going to have to find out if the weather has changed. Probably has. Also might not have been. Look at that. It's the difference is night and day between what we just saw and what we're seeing right here. I'm trying to find out whether the weather is going to be updated or not. Let's see what happens. The forecast apparently is a lot of rain, but I don't think that is actually correct. Looks like a lobby restart might not have done the graphics quite well. So unfortunately the weather prediction is not accurate just yet. Trying to see whether it helps if I click on the team telemetry thingy or not. Doesn't really seem to be working there. It is indeed from the last lobby, because it's definitely not raining right now. So that means we're going to have to rely on what we're seeing. And that means we're watching right now a lot of blue sky and sun. That means it's going to be quite sunny, at least at the start of the race. Drivers picking the car setups as we are waiting for the get-go. Of course, tire strategy important as well. I wouldn't be surprised if many drivers will start on the hard tires. Maybe TF10 will go aggressive and start on the mediums. Who knows what they are going to do, because they are quite far behind. If they want to try and get something done for the championship tonight, they'll have to throw their cars around some others. But we're gonna see it right now. The race gets underway officially with FVR on the front way. Ismail Fashi and Diego Zorzo 1 and 2. Let's see if Luca Ripasa or maybe even Danny van Ruiten can do something about it. Luca definitely is going to try something in turn 1. Already he's overtaken one FVR driver. Can he make it go for 2 and 2 side by side on the medium tires? And now they're heading towards turn number 2. Side by side, Haas versus Mercedes, and it looks like the medium tires, at least for now, is definitely helping Luca Ripasa to slot ahead of Ismail Fashi as he goes into first position, with Danny van Ruiten really close as well. Let's see there the tires, and you can see most drivers have started on the mediums, and FVR have opted for the hards. And as my prediction already said, TF10 also has decided to go for the medium tires and go aggressive to see what they can do against the powerhouse that is FVR tonight. Looks like Tony Richer is trying to get closer to Diego Zorzo, who's been demoted to 4th place in the span of 1 or 2 corners already. And now potentially is going to get harassed by this man here in the Red Bull. But look at that, brilliant stuff from everybody. It looks like no big incidents just yet. It's one long snake on the minimap, as you can see right there. They're all getting through quite safely, and now the weather is updated properly. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the actual weather prediction for now. A lot of sun and potentially a little bit of fog or mist or whatever you like to call it, coming up a little bit later down the line. Ismail Fashi and Luca Ripasa now fighting for first position. Danny van Ruiten trying to keep Diego Zorzo behind. It looks like Danny actually is going to try and put some pressure on the Mercedes driver side by side through turn 2 right there. Now he's got the inside line. Can he make it stick right there? The Dutchman going up into first position. No, Ismail decided to keep it there, and now he's got the inside line in turn 4, and Danny has to yield. Otherwise nasty things will happen to him indeed. Fortunately, he decided to be the wise man and back out of it in time. And meanwhile, some serious pressure behind Tony Richer as Lighty tries to get past the Red Bull right there. T.S. Korsman has made up several places as well as he moves up into 7th place. Elku still happily hanging around P8. He'll be delighted with that position, as will Mr. Pike in P11, even though he would probably like to get some more out of it, as currently Elku is scoring more points for their rival team. We're seeing some potential groups starting to form, especially at the back of the field. It's Christian Lubinov slowly but surely starting to lose connection to the cars ahead. You'll still have DRS as it just has been enabled last lap as they go around once again with Luca Rapassa now with the fastest lap of the race as he tries to shake off the Mercedes behind. Trying to get him out of DRS. Danny van Ruiten would also like that, as he can get past more easily without Ismail Fashi's rear wing opening. I was about to say his front wing opening though. Really quite interesting to watch actually. Tony Richer still hanging around in P5 on those mediums. He can't just get past Diego yet. In fact, a gap is starting to form and Lighty is the one knocking on the door of the Red Bull right there. T.S. Korsman is also getting very, very close. I wouldn't be surprised if as soon as possible the team of TF10 will do a driver swap. But a little bit of a mistake there from T.S. Korsman has allowed Elke to catch back up, trying to challenge the Red Bull there for 7th place. That would be quite extraordinary there for the Sauber to get up another position, scoring even more points with for his team. Quite the achievement indeed. Luca Rapassa creates a little bit of a gap, but it's not enough to shake Ismail Fashi from DRS just yet. It's still a long race though. We're only 3 laps in. We're about to go into lap 4. And so far, the Haas driver has managed to create a gap that was about 7/10 at most. And sooner or later, the advantage will swap around to this man. And everybody else who started on the hard tires, which is a minority tonight. It's both FER drivers, both TTM drivers. One CPI driver is Isaac Leet, who's now in 10th place. It's Danny Coe, also in 14th at the moment on the hards. Herman Polyakov and Victor Wittler also opted to go for the hards in the first stint. Even though they started from the back, they decided to play the long game, which might just work out for them. Who knows? It's a long race, as I said before, and that means everything can still happen. There's of course always that chance of a safety car, something that Ismail might not be too used to, as esports racing generally goes without a safety car as far as I'm aware. The medium's still a little faster. It would be a shocker if the mediums already drop off at lap 4, because they still have to go a long way. I'm not entirely sure which lap normally you want to pit on the medium tires around the Hungaroring in a 50% race. I would say about lap 13, 14, 15-ish. 100% certain about that, but look at that. Ismail Fashi already pressuring Luca Rapassa for the lead of the race. There he goes. I don't think this is going to be much of an exciting move. It looks like it's going to be done quite easily, but it looks like Luca really doesn't want him to get past, allowing Danny now to try and make a move on the Mercedes driver around the outside in turn 2. Can he make it stick though? He's going to try again on another Mercedes. Got the inside light once again, but he can't make the move work for the second time in a row on Ismail Fashi. That means now Ismail's got the lead of the race, and he might potentially try and start pulling away from everybody else. Strong move there, very decisive, and that means more points for FVR right now. Diego Zorzo also pressuring Luca. He suddenly lost a lot of pace. The gap that he had 2 laps ago has completely evaporated. And now potentially the next Mercedes might get past, as Richard Koenig is the first driver to get a time penalty for track limits. Already on lap 5, that's not a good sign of things to come for him. Look at this, he nearly tries to go around the outside in turn 13. That's how big the pace difference is already. Danny van Ruiten, can he try and hold on to the Mercedes ahead? Looks like Diego is going to try and make a move in turn 1. Where is he going to go? He had a little bit of a look. Just a bit too far away though. Not much you can do from there yet. And meanwhile, in the midfield, we see Mr. Pike and Isaac Leet fighting for a position, as Mr. Pike has gone ahead of the McLaren right there. Or has he? Because Isaac Leet is definitely not giving up that easily, but he has to yield. As for now, the medium tire is still faster. Isaac knows he's playing the long game, but he has to make sure Pascal Sankbaal stays behind, because he's also playing the long game, and that Williams is getting awfully close to a move right there in the chicane. And Lighty, in fact, the other Williams driver, is making the move on Tony Richer. Look at that! TF10 is in trouble tonight, that's for sure. their form is nowhere near what we're used to, actually. And that's quite surprising, especially with these two drivers. You would expect them to be at least the second best team behind FDR tonight, but they're not. There's ET8, TTM and even CPI tonight that have, at least for the moment, faster drivers. Now the mediums are dead. That's quite fast, possibly overheating as well. Let's see what happens. 1.1 seconds clear. Ismail Fashi, no threats from behind anymore. Diego Zorzo, look at that, a lot of fighting going on for second place. A bit of stuff there flying off somebody's car. Might not be damaged though, might just be the game deciding to make things more dramatic than they are. But Danny is now the next car to start struggling. Luca wants to get past, and we've got our first yellow flag in the race as Sasha Nieve spun out. And he's now fallen behind the rest of the field. The day for ZNT is not going that well. Tristan only in 9th, Sasha now far behind the rest. Diego Zorzo putting Luca Ripasa under pressure still. Luca in the meanwhile trying desperately to keep up with Danny, who's managing to keep his mediums under control a lot better now that he's got some clear air ahead of him. Those mediums appear to be working a lot better. There's the difference for you. It's not the mediums that are wearing off just yet, it's just the mediums. I think Carson might be right. They're overheating behind other cars. Ooh, Diego Zorzo going quite wide there as he tried to line up Luca Ripasa for the move. Speaking of lining somebody up for the move, you see Tristan Derrico in the background, and there goes Zorzo trying to go the inside of the Haas driver, and up he goes into 3rd place. In the meanwhile, a lot of position swapping happening in the background. Mr. Pike now up to P8. Elko is losing a lot of positions all of a sudden. His medium tires are definitely cooked. Literally, probably. As even Pascal Sankbau moves around the outside in turn 3. Into P11. And that's bad news for EVE, because now their rivals, who are already 10 points ahead, have their driver now all of a sudden into P8. It looks like they swapped position, because Mr. Pike was in that position that Elko was a few laps ago. And it looks like his mediums are now a little bit better. And better news for him is, at the same time, it's bad news as well. He's got no DRS to the car ahead, meaning a bit of clear air, allowing the tires to cool down a little bit. So far, he's doing a great job for TGF. And look at that, Isaac Leeds going for a move, actually. He nearly went for a move in turn 12. That nearly allows Pascal Sankbau to get back past. But he couldn't make it stick. Switching our attention back to the main straight then. Diego Zorzo is going to make it a FVR 1-2 once again. There they go, and Luca Ripasa has the defend against Lighty. Into turn 1, Lighty making it quite deep. And that makes him go on the throttle a little bit later than he would have liked. And that means that Haas, at least for now, stays ahead. But he's got the inside line that Williams has. And there, the move is done. All 100% certain now. And Luca Ripasa down to P5. And look at that, Tony Richer barely hanging on to DRS. Mr. Pike behind him. T.S. Korsman has already switched to the hard tires. We might potentially then see a 2-stop race, because he's realized those medium tires, at least for now, weren't working anymore at all. And he might try and place a massive undercut if everybody else decides to do a 2-stop as well. I wouldn't be surprised anymore, because, you know, TF10 usually is on top of their strategy. And bringing in Tias this early might mean that the mediums are definitely dead. You can see the pace difference is absolutely massive. Lighty is working hard to get past the McLaren right here. Also still on the mediums. I wonder what Tony Richer is going to do right now. He's going in as well. Both TF10 drivers are now in. Same goes for Mr. Pike, joining him in the pit lane, and Tristan de Becourt as well. As we watch Ismail Fashi creating a 2.5 second gap now to his own teammate. Speaking of whom, he's quite safe from this battle behind him. Lighty trying to get past and successfully doing so against Danny van Ruiten into 3rd position. The Williams goes. Great job by the TTM driver. I think TTM will be delighted with Lighty currently driving for them here in Hungary, as he's doing an extraordinary job. Pascal Sankbau also moving up the ranks. He's also got a CPI car ahead of him still. But that CPI car is Isaac Lead, and he's on the hards. So you'll have to fight a different sort of battle. There we go. Nevio in the chat cheering on Lighty right there as he moved up into the podium places. That actually is still at podium places. Nobody ahead of him has pitted yet. Both Mercedes and the Hards will be going around a little bit longer than all of those on the mediums. I think Danny and Luca will be coming in very soon as well. They've realized some drivers behind have already pitted. Look at that. TS Korsman already 1.9 seconds clear from Tony Richet. The undercut is quite powerful around this track, with all of its corners asking a lot of those tires. Grip is crucial. Danny and Luca going in then, as predicted, for their first hard tire set. And probably only, because usually you only have one tire set on the hards in a race, unless you've chosen a different sort of tire choice at the start of the session. And let's see if the TF10 drivers are going to get past them right here. TS Korsman, he does, and Tony Richet does, question mark. Whoa, he's getting right in the middle of it. But he's got warmer tires. Oh, there goes Luca de Passa, nearly losing control of the car. That could be crucial for him and the other drivers. Can he still hang on to DRS though? Just barely. Tony Richet, he'll not be too happy seeing Danny van Ruiten still in front of him, and his teammate TS Korsman has gotten ahead much further as he went in one lap earlier. And look at the difference it has made. 2 seconds now to the CPI driver of Danny, and potentially he'll be in the race lead when the rest is pitted. That could be beneficial for him around this type of track. That means Jivedar and Richard Koenig are the only two drivers on the mediums remaining. It's calming down quite a lot at the front of the field. Isaac Lee, though, potentially under threat from Pascal Sangbile and Danny Coe. As Danny now is moving up the places as well. Just behind them, Victor Whitler and Herman Polyakov having a good time together. Now in 7th and 8th, starting from the back of the field. You can see there Jivedar and Richard Koenig coming in as well. And that means the only drivers who have yet to pit are now those who started on the hard tires. A position swap there between two NLR drivers. They've both got a penalty as well. So, well, their day is not going to end that great, unfortunately. That at least is how it seems tonight. Lighting, meanwhile, doing an amazing job of staying with a very quick Diego Zorzo. We've seen Diego dominating some races he's been in, but Lighty has been improving massively over the last few months, I have to say. We've seen him driving quite well a lot of times. Usually it ends up in disaster for him somehow, always involved in an incident one way or another. But now, not only his awareness has improved, but his race pace has improved big time as well. And it shows, as he now drives in 3rd position, still pressurizing one of the Mercedes. And that will be a relief for TF10, because they'll probably be cheering on this man as well. Because he's currently the only one that could stop them from gaining a lot of points tonight. Let's see then, Victor Whitler, Herman switching positions again. In the meanwhile, potentially a battle coming up between Danny and Tony. There comes Tony Richet in turn 1, and Lucas having a look as well, but Danny is going to go defensive on the outside, and he manages to stick his car there still, meaning he'll have the inside in turn 2, or has he? No! Looks like Tony has more speed, and so has Luca. Danny might lose 2 positions then in the span of 2 corners, as the Haas has still got the inside line. Danny has to back out as he nearly got pushed off the track, allowing Luca to get back past, and now is the next driver behind Tony Richet, who on his turn is about 2 seconds behind his teammate, who can't help him out whatsoever, as Tias is charging and pushing hard to claim the lead of the race. He's currently got a lot of clear air, which is great news for him. The next car is 7 seconds up the road, and that's Herman Polyakov. He's doing a great job of trying to get to the lead of the race, although with Ismail Fashi being nearly 4 seconds clear of Diego, it could potentially only become P2. And there goes Lucas Day, getting a lot worse. Getting a 3-second time penalty to his name. We will not know whether all the warnings were fair. Maybe one of them was by being pushed off. I do not know. But that's no good. No good for ET8. As they wanted to score a lot of points with this man especially. Good news for him is they both get past Tony Richet, and Tony Richet demoted back down to P12. He'll be frustrated behind the wheel right now. But he had no choice. His teammates came in a lap earlier. They couldn't both pit the same lap. He would have lost a lot more time than when he pitted a lap later. It will always cost you about 3 or 4 seconds more. And the undercut probably only cost him about 2 seconds. Back to the front of the field. When are the hard tire drivers going to pit? That's the question. They are now 13 laps old. We're about to go into lap 15. Lighty keeping Diego Zorzo on his toes pretty much, as the pressure remains on from the Williams. They will likely not work together to catch Ismail Fashi, because that's not something Diego wants. He doesn't want Lighty to catch his teammate. He wants him to stay behind. There's Pascal. That's Lighty's teammate right there. 4.5 seconds behind the other Williams, as Luca Repasa now gets the fastest lap of the race. And he's closing the gap to T.S. Korsman rapidly. What has happened to last week's race winner? He's getting caught by the drivers behind. Of course, they are being helped by DRS, let's be honest. 1.1 seconds now. It was nearly 2 seconds about 2 laps ago when Tony Richet was leading the group. And now he has to watch as 2 other cars are towing himself and the others along to his own teammate. And that means Tias will no longer be having an easy time just driving around in circles, not having to fight. Because soon he'll have a Haas and a McLaren and his teammate nearby. And even Mr. Pike is within range. And that is impressive. Mr. Pike is keeping up with some very fast drivers. Tristan Derbecourt in tow. It's quite impressive. There's no other way of saying it. Lighty now has gotten really close to Diego, but this straight is not long enough to make a move. And even with 2.5 tenths behind. He's gonna have to stick behind again. Back to the first Red Bull on the field. He's in trouble, because there they are, all with DRS right now. Tony Richet just barely hanging on again. I do not believe his hard tires are wearing off just yet. They're only 6 laps old. But he's struggling. Tony Richet struggling is not a combination of words I use very often. But I'm using them now. Oh, Mr. Pike, you shouldn't have done that. You should not have done that. Could have scored many points for the team, and now he's got a 3-second time penalty to his name and losing a lot of time to Tony Richet. Oh, dearie me. That is no good. And that means he and Tristan are now on even playing field, because they both have 3 seconds. That means Tristan has now a better shot at scoring some extra points by just overtaking this man in the Alpine. But either way, it's still an impressive job for the team to bring out Mr. Pike, because he's very fast. And not sure what happened to Elku, but he's lost all of his pace. He's now just barely hanging on to points. In the meanwhile, T.S. Korsman is getting hammered by everybody around him. Luca Repasa has gone past, Danny van Ruiten as well now. And now, TF10 has got 2 drivers together again, but not in the positions they would like to see. Yes, there are still several drivers to pit. We know that. But still. They are struggling. I get brain damage every time he says Mr. Pike. Well, let me know how you do pronounce it then. As far as I'm aware, I'm just pronouncing it the way you pronounce the weapon of a pike. Oh well. Ismail Fashi still happily going around. 5 seconds clear from his teammates. Lighty keeping on the pressure to Diego Zorzo. Isaac Lead trying to keep Pascal and Denny behind. And Pascal's getting closer and closer and closer. Is he going to go for a move? That's the question. He's just a bit too far behind. But look at this. Lighty then in turn 1 is so close to the Mercedes. Just A little bit too far back coming out of the final corner, I'm afraid. That means Diego is just barely safe. And Lighty might try to go for an undercut with pitting 1 lap early, but he doesn't know, of course, when Diego goes in. He doesn't know what the strategy is for the Mercedes. Yeah, FVR Cooking is putting it mildly, to be fair. Luca Ripassa has now caught up to traffic, so to say, because these are the drivers that have yet to pit. But look at that, Herman Polyakov has decided not to yield that easily. Going side by side through the chicane. Now that's a rare sight. But Luca gets past anyway, and this is crucial for him. Danny is still stuck behind the Aston Martin. Now he's got to make the move very quick, and he does so. And now it's going to be important for the Red Bulls to get past the Aston Martins fast. And there he goes. Tias Korsman tries to go around the outside, but Herman, for some reason, has decided to defend whatever position he's in, even when he is on much older tires. And now he's got no choice to let Tony Richet pass as well. But Herman is feisty. He's like, I started last, I've got nothing to lose. I'll just defend from you as much as I like. I don't care. There goes Luca, now past the second Aston Martin, who doesn't make as big of a deal of it as his teammate, who's now fallen behind massively. And now Danny is stuck behind Victor Widler as he tries desperately to stay with Luca. Tias Korsman, Tony Richet are therefore able to stay with the McLaren for now. We saw them before they got past. Whoa. Victor Widler was definitely having a bit of an excursion almost off the track there. His tires are getting very worn. You can see it especially through the middle sector. That's where he loses a lot of time, and crucially loses DRS to Luca. And that is bad news for Danny. Very bad news indeed. He's got to get past now, and then hope he can make it up back to DRS. 1.2 seconds, 3 seconds in fact. 1.3 seconds now to the Haas right there. Victor Widler, as you can see, tries to defend something, but he's decided to not make that much of a deal about it, as Herman did, and both Red Bulls passed as well. Well, it's costed Danny a lot. Look at this, 1.3 seconds still, but Luca has got a time penalty. That's his only saving grace. If he hadn't, then he will be in serious trouble. All he needs to do now is stay within 3 seconds and not pick up warnings, which is, of course, easier said than done, let's be fair. Those on the hard tires still have yet to pit. Looks like they are making them last a lot longer than those mediums, and I think it's going to be a one-stop either way. And that means for Tias especially, he's got to nurse those tires home, which might explain why he's a little bit down on pace. He must keep those tires alive. He went in early, and he might pay the price at the end of the race. Danny and Luca ahead. It went in 2 laps later. Hard stop when the drivers are dead. That's an interesting way to say. Lap after lap after lap after lap, Lighty stays behind Diego. Whether that is a strategy or whether that is Diego playing it brilliantly out of the final corner, I cannot tell you, as Herman is the first to ditch those hard tires out of everybody to go to the mediums. He'll be, well, not be in last place, but he'll be slipping out of the points right there. Elko goes back into the points as he's been overtaken by Sasha, who has so far caused the only yellow flag this race. That is incredible. Usually the PC tier is quite feisty in battling everywhere, from the first until the very last lap, but not this week. Apart from the Sasha Neeb moment, the racing has been very clean. Yes, the NLR drivers defended feistily, but in the end it was still clean enough. Not a big problem. So who's the next to yield then? Who's the next to ditch the hard tires and go for the mediums? Lighty still decides to give chase to Diego. Anyone of this group? No, they're all still going round. Looks like Herman is the only one so far who has decided to ditch those hard tires early. Or maybe his teammates are going to follow as well. Now, Victor Whittler, yes, he does. Victor, then, the second driver to go for the mediums. And all of NLR is now pitted. As Christian gets another time penalty. That's no good. Mr. Pike moving back up to 11th. With Tristan in tow still. He had the arrest from Victor. Now he's got a 2.9 second gap to Tony Richet. And look at how much the shenanigans in the traffic have cost Danny. 1.8 seconds now. Luca is slowly running away with it. And if Danny isn't careful, it will soon be 3 seconds. In fact, Luca is now rapidly approaching his teammate. Is Danny Coe going to sacrifice his race to mess with Danny? That would be a great deal of teamwork right there for ET8 to allow Luca to definitely claim a podium position tonight. But there's still 2.4 seconds and a time penalty to cover. I wonder how this is going to work out for them. The gap is decreasing very fast, actually. And the gap between Luca and Danny is increasing. 1.9 it says for now. 2 seconds it goes now. And that means that there's about 1 second for Luca to go. As we have our second yellow flag in the race. And that is Christian Lubinov, who has in fact also damaged his front wing. So the first damaged wing on a track like this, only on lap 23. Now it's nearly headlines. Nearly gonna go in the headlines in the news. Christian Lubinov, the first, with a broken front wing. Somebody who hasn't got a broken front wing is Ismail. His car is very stable still. He's just happily zooming around. 7 seconds to his teammate. Not a tiny bit of worry for him. It's just a walk in the park, basically. Christian is having a tough game cycle. I think that's quite correct. He goes into the pit and then he will be lapped by the race leader and perhaps second and third as well. Things on the track, at the moment at least, are quite calm, but we have still several drivers yet to pit. Everybody in the top 6 still has to pit. Luca Ripassa has nearly reached his own teammate, who actually goes into the pit box now. So no help then from Danny Coe, as he decides to go for his own race and try and hold off the NLR drivers of Herman and Victor. Pascal Senkbau coming in as well. I think he decided to go when Pascal went. And ditching those hards for the mediums on lap 24. His tires will be very fresh indeed. But they'll be much fresher for these drivers who still have yet to pit. Luca Ripassa is now 2 seconds clear from Isaac. And that might spell trouble, because no longer is he approaching his own teammate. He's approaching the teammate from the man that is behind him, right? Oh my goodness me, he just flew into the corner right there. Wow! Nearly just slid off the track. That was spectacular. There's no other way of saying it. Luca Ripassa is going absolutely ham as he's approaching Isaac Lead, who might try and hold up the Haas driver just to allow Danny back in contention for that podium position, whichever it might be. 1.4 now. Let's see what Isaac Lead is going to do. He's quite alone. He knows Danny and Pascal are probably going to undercut him by now, but it looks like potentially he's going to sacrifice his own race for the sake of Danny. Diego and Lighty now ditching the Sahards for the mediums. Out of the top 3 they go, allowing Luca into 3rd position and Isaac into 2nd, but he's yet to pit. Same goes for Ismail. Danny there still's got those Red Bulls behind. And Luca is now stuck behind Danny's teammate. Now, let's see what's going to happen right here. This could become very, very interesting indeed. Isaac Lead is not going to yield whatsoever. Look at that, he's already holding him up, massively slowing him down big time. There's no way he was that slow through the corner on his own. And the gap is already shrinking massively. Isaac Lead is doing all he can to allow Danny to get back through. And Luca is frustrated behind him. Look at this. Even Christian Lubinov stays with these drivers right now. He's a lap down. And he's probably having a good time watching this unfold. And Luca is actually not taking it very hard. Looks like he's already realizing what Isaac is doing. Is he gonna hold on for another lap? No, he's yielding right now, but he's allowed Danny to come back in within 2 seconds. And now Luca's got it all to do once again. The only saving grace is that he will be in the race lead, and Danny will be into second place, as Christian has decided to officially retire in the race, and he becomes so far the only retirement. That is quite extraordinary. One retirement only in the pit lane is a very rare sight, especially this late in the race. Lucas getting that gap back up anyway. Spectre is confident in Lucas' ability. 1.4 seconds though. That means he's got to do 1.7, well 1.5 now, to make sure he claims that first place. But Ismail Fashi's gone to the mediums, 2.8 behind the group that is fighting for the win. And just ahead of Tristan Derbecourt. Ismail getting DRS this lap. Not yet. 2.2 seconds is a bit too much. And that means Danny, Tony and Tias will have to coordinate everything to perfection. They know the esports driver is coming up, and coming up very fast. Look at these corners right there. Took half a second away by one corner. Is there any way Tony and Tias can keep him at bay? Because they've got each other. And together they can make themselves as wide as they want. But they will need Danny. They will need the help from the Dutchman in second place, who's also fighting for the win. But they also need to stay within 3 seconds of Luca. So they have to look back and ahead. And this is going to be a very tactical game indeed. There is Ismail Fashi. He's already within DRS range on this lap. Can you show penalties? Sure I can. Everybody except Herman has got 3 seconds to their name. Herman's got 6. But this is the battle we want to watch. Tony Richet. Tias Korsman. There he is. Ismail Fashi. Where is he going to make the move? He's probably going to have to try and surprise them with a move in a position where they do not expect it. They need perfect coordination, but this is going to be too much already, I'm afraid, for Tias Korsman, because there goes Ismail Fashi on the inside, and he makes the job as easy as it looks. And he's now split, the TF10 cars already. And now Tony Richet is going to be the next victim. And it looks like Tony's got no answer either. He's got nothing to it, but he does have DRS. Can he throw his car into turn 1? It's his only hope. Ismail knows it though. He throws his car instead onto Danny's McLaren, and up he goes back into second place. And then it's just already the race has won, simply because Lucas got a 3-second time penalty. This is good news though for Danny. He can try to stay within DRS range if he's lucky, and then tow himself along with the Mercedes to stay within that 3-second range. But I think it's too little too late. Look at that, already outside of DRS range. Ismail's got no problem ditching all of them. In the mud they go. Danny, Tony and Tias had no chance. And now they might be in trouble again, because Diego is approaching rapidly as well. Not as rapid, let's be honest. And he's got a Williams in tow. And I think this man is very proud tonight. Mr. Pike. Pikey. I'll try and Pikey, maybe that's pronounced correctly. Mr. Pikey. Or PK. Might be another one to pronounce, another way to pronounce it. I do not know. There goes Luca. No chance whatsoever. Ismail back in the lead of the race. Job done. Tony Richet taking Danny van Ruiten's final podium place. Danny is going to try and fight back. CPI are very hungry for a podium in this season. I haven't seen a lot of it. They've got a good chance with this man. But Tony has taken it from him. And now he has to make sure he stays with him. Looks like TF10 has found a little bit of their pace. And they're trying to limit the damage as much as possible. They've got another shot with keeping this man behind. And if Diego stays in P6, then potentially They won't score that many fewer points. I do not know from the top of my head how many points all of these positions score. I know P1 scores 35, P15 scores 1. But anything in between, I do not know from the top of my head, unfortunately. But P3 and P5 is quite a healthy something for TF10 with Diego and P6. But TS would probably like to get past as well. That will be crucial. Oh, Sasha's out! Will there be a safety car? There is a safety car! There is a safety car! I cannot believe my eyes! This late in the race, and it's going to catch the race leader of Ismail Fashi, who was breezing away in the distance. And now we'll have a very, very hungry pack of wolves behind him. And I'm certain everybody is going to pit for tires. And look at that, Lighty has gotten extraordinarily lucky. He's gone for fresh mediums. Mr. Pikey has gone for the softs, in fact. He's gonna go ham. Diego swapped. He's managed to get in the pit lane in time as well. And that spells big, big trouble for the top 5. The top 5 is in big trouble. Everybody behind them might potentially catch up. And they'll be in the back of the field if all of them are quick enough. Ismail is not cooked. Well, I think he might try and stay out. He's got no choice, otherwise he'll have to overtake all of them again. And what's the rest of the top 5 going to do then? Because already Diego is getting closer and closer. This is the perfect scenario for FVR. It's a nightmare for TF10. An absolute big nightmare there. And safety car with the penalty is indeed the worst case scenario for all of those who have it. And Luca especially will be very, very, very unhappy. Look at that. There's Diego already. Lighty as well. Tristan Derbecourt connecting to the pack. Mr. Pikey. Pascal Sangbile there as well. Forgive my coughing. Still have a little bit of a head cold. What's the top 5 going to do? Ismail is going... No, he's not going in. In fact, 4 drivers decide to stay out and Tony is going to take the risk for the team. Or sorry, Tias is actually. Tias Korsman has decided to take the risk and pit. Wow. It's a scary moment there for TF10. Which choice was the right one? Was it the right choice for Tony to stay out, or was it the right choice for Tias to come in? Because Tias is now down in P15, which will become P16, because Herman is coming around on the main straight right there. And there's Jividar. I think he'll be still behind then. Yeah, he is, because Tias is exiting right now. But this might be the end of the championship hopes for TF10. Even when there's still 1 round to come. It really depends on what FER does next week. It looks like people in the chat saying the softs won't last. Even Tias' softs with, what will it be? 4 laps of racing if the safety car comes in at the end of this lap. 4 laps on the softs. We'll be dead by the end of it, most likely then. Luca will be sad. He's got 3 seconds in second place right now. And the good news for Ismail is he's got a buffer behind of 3 drivers who decide to stay on the hard tires. Safety car in this lap as predicted, and Ismail leads the pack. What's he going to do? He'll probably be happy with Luca, Tony and Danny, who decided to stay out. Diego has to get past them, which shouldn't be too difficult. The tire difference is massive. It's absolutely humongous. Lighty will be happy as well. You'll see his podium getting very close now. He's been the only driver who kept Diego awake. And Ismail's already on his way. Look at that. No problem at all. Luca Ripasa, Tony Richet, Danny van Ruiten got no answer. In fact, Diego Zorzal is already in the gearbox of the McLaren right there. He's most likely going for a move into turn 1 as Danny uses all of his ERS to stay ahead, and then he'll lunge into turn 1. I really do not want Diego to get ahead, but he does anyway. Even with the extraordinary defense from Danny, and even Lighty gets past straight away. Danny's gonna try on the inside. He can't do it. There's no way on those old tires it's going to work. Tony Richet's now got the Williams right there. Where's Diego gone? He's been down to P5. Ooh, a little bit of a result there for TF10 perhaps, as Lighty has managed to get into third, which will soon be second, whatever happens. Tristan Derbecourt and Mr. Pikey there fighting for position as well. As usual, the chaos has unfolded. Diego there, trying to get past Tony Richet. There goes Tony! It was an all or nothing approach for the TF10 team, with both drivers. Tony giving it all to defend, but now he's dropping down the field more and more and more. And FPR might have just clinged and claimed the title for their own tonight. With the driver lineup and the tire choice and the safety car strategy right there, all of that has contributed to this big moment right here. Tony Richet is getting swamped by everybody. There's still 3 laps of racing to go. Yes, I know. But even when the softs die, those hard tires are 23 laps old. All he can do now is hope that everybody else around him will be involved in a lot of chaos, and Danny has decided to retire straight away in the pit lane. He is unhappy. His pit stop hasn't worked out, or strategy, sorry, hasn't worked out at all. And now all hope for CPI rests with Isaac Lead. Even with Danny having a good shot at the podium, he couldn't pit due to the safety car timing. And that is so unfortunate, because he was really up there all race long until that safety car happened. Luca Ripasa is doing an extraordinary job still to keep Diego behind. Even with that penalty, he'll be overtaken by many drivers anyway after he crosses the line. Luca might be another bit of hope then for TF10. They are now 13th and 14th place. Goodness me. Tony Richet has lost it all. He's now 1.7 seconds behind his teammate, who actually did pit then for soft tires. And Tias Korsman is lucky that the drivers ahead have a lot of penalties, so he'll be at least in the top 10 and scoring some points for the team. But my oh my, has tonight claimed a lot of them, especially Diego Zorzo going up into P3. He's lost connection to Lighty. Lighty will be absolutely delighted with this position. Second place behind an esports driver is definitely something you can boast about. Diego Zorzo now desperately trying to keep Tristan behind, even when Tristan has a penalty. Just to be sure, you want him behind. There's Pascal Sankbile, seeing that the soft tires are starting to die off already, and that means he can try and attack Mr. Pikey. Mr. Pikey for TGF, P5. Who would have thought that? It will still be P7, but then again, that's still a season best result quite easily. And he might try and claim some more as he tries to stay with Tristan there. Half a second in between them. He could try and go for P6 at the end of the race. TF10 need all the hope. Yes, indeed they do. 13th and 15th right now. It's a big oof right there. Ismail Fashi between himself and Lighty, 1.2 seconds. Not sure what's going on there, but that gap has actually shrunk as we approach the final lap. Actually, we started the final lap right there. Diego Zorzo cannot catch Lighty. Might Ismail then try and help out Diego by slowing down enough to get Diego within range of attacking him? He's still under pressure from the Ferrari behind. He was in the middle of the pack all race long. He suddenly finds himself fighting with an FTR driver. Look at that, Isaac leads, look out Pasa. Lucas got no answer to those soft, or has he? He's still going to try anyway. Despite his race being ruined, he will do all he can to keep as many points as possible for the team. His teammate Danny Coe up into 7th place. That might be P5 by the time the race ends. A brilliant result there for Danny as well. Not as much then for Luca. You'll also be very unhappy about that safety car. Tias trying to get past Richard. There's not much he can do though. It's a long train ahead of him. Ishmael's tires are dead. You're absolutely right. I completely forgot that he didn't pit. And that's what allows Lighty to catch up somehow. But it's not going to be enough. It's too little too late for the challenge for the lead of the race. Because Ismail has done what he was asked to do and wins the race for FPR in Hungary. Lighty comes home in 2nd place and Diego in 3rd. Now let's see how everything else turns out to be. TTM will be absolutely happy with 2nd and 4th as Pascal finishes in 4th. Danny Coe in P5 out of nowhere. Tias somehow recovering to P6 due to all of the penalties. That's the only little bit of light in the tunnel for the team right there. Because other than that, it was a nightmare, I think. An absolute nightmare for TF10 tonight. Fair play to TTM indeed. They haven't done anything wrong tonight. They had Lighty was fast. They had Pascal made his way up through the field from 11th to 4th. Danny Coe as well from 12th to 5th. Great job by him. TS Korsman has got the fastest lap of the race. An extra point then for them, which is potentially crucial as we approach the final round next week. Finishes in P6, then Isaac Leet in P7. Luca in P8. Victor Whittler P9. Givernar for EVE P10. EVE scored quite well as well, but not as well though as TGF. Although, look at that. The 10 seconds for Mr. Pikey. What happened there? I think that might not be correct. So let's remove those 10 seconds, and then let's see where I should have finished. 6.8. That should have been P6. I think Mr. Pikey is going to get his P6 back. I do not know where he did that get that 10-second penalty from, but I don't think it should exist. That might be crucial for their battle in P9 as well. Elku finished P14, Tristan Debecourt P12, Tony Rishi only P11, but all of them might move down a position due to this man's weird penalty. Herman Polyakov P15, another great race for NLR tonight, with Victor Rittler though in P9, still a little bit of hope for them. Richard Koenig, no points, Danny out, and Sashanib and Christian Luminop out as well. Wow. Eversio points. Yes, a double points finish for them. Might be that Giverdan will be demoted to P11 due to that 10-second penalty for Mr. Pikey, which is unusual. Let's keep it at that. But I've got to have to take the top 3 to see whether they're willing to give an interview or not. Oh, this is weird. I can't find Lighty in the driver's chat. Does he have another tag? I do not know what the driver tag for Lighty is in Discord, but I can't tag him in the driver's chat. I can only tag Diego and Ismail. Very strange. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Nevio, for taking. Why couldn't I actually type Lighty, but it just wouldn't show up. Oh well. Let's press my my stream deck has actually gone off. It turned off. The interview button. Beautiful. It still works. I like my Steam Deck. Diego Zorzo is waiting in the waiting room. That means we're going to drag him in, as he's finished third in this race. Diego, good to see you. This might have been a crucial race for the team, hasn't it?
Yeah. We had the pressure to beat TF10 as we were equal on points, and we did a good quali both. And race wasn't very ideal for my part. I think medium hard was the better option, but we made it work, and thankfully we have gained a lot of points to TF10 now.
Yeah, I'm curious. The safety car, was it a blessing or a curse for you?
I actually think it was a good thing because I wasn't gaining that much time. I was gonna catch, but they could have maybe, if they worked together, keep me behind. So yeah, I managed to get new tires, and that was a much easier job.
Yeah, there was Lighty, of course, with you all the way. How was the pressure from him? Was it big, or did you feel you could beat him?
No, I knew I could beat him. He was playing it smart because we weren't fighting. He was just pulling along with me in my DRS. he knew that was the better choice because I think I was a little bit faster. And then yeah, he managed to overtake me because some dirty actions from another team, but it is what it is. We should have gotten a 1-2. But yeah, I'm happy with the result anyways. 1-3 is pretty decent points.
Yeah, next week, one round to go. Is it safe for you already to say the title is ours, or do you still have some worries about TF10?
Mathematically, it's not done, so I
Mhm.
can't say we have done it. Obviously, it's looking very good. I think they didn't finish in the points. So if we have to do it very bad to lose this championship, but job is not done.
All right, let's find out next week in the big finale. Thank you so much for joining us, and see you next
Thank
time.
you.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Looks like we're going to have to talk to our race winner as well, because, well, let's just say a walk in the park, I wonder if it was. Ismail, welcome here in the commentary box. This race for you must have been a somewhat different experience. You've joined the team tonight to try and help them to the title. I think it's safe to say you did a good job there, didn't you?
Yes. I'm happy for them. They asked me to race once, and it's my team, the team of my heart. So I couldn't say no. No, but yeah, it was well, at the end of the race, I was kind of scared of if the guys on the new set of tires would catch me up or something. But in the end, nothing happened. So yeah, happy that we kind of secured the team's championship.
Yeah, your teammate just said mathematically it's still possible, but you've made a big run to the points in the championship tonight. We saw you at the safety car, nearly diving into the pit lane. Was that a fake move or a last-second decision not to go in?
That was actually so in the middle of the call or the lap, I was asking if to pit or not because I was scared of the people behind me, all of them, even though they would come out at the back. I was scared if they pit and I just stay alone with worse tires. So I was like, should I pit? Not. They said no, so I was kind of joking with them. So I made like a fake move to the pits
Okay.
to scare them, and that's it.
All right, interesting. Which tires worried you more? Was it the mediums that were behind you or the softs?
The mediums.
Yeah. As we saw Lighty catching you by the end. Were you afraid for a moment he was going to get within DRS range, or did you feel like you had it in the bag already?
I reckon one more lap and he would have caught me up.
All right.
So I had I don't know 5 laps, 6 more like worse tires. So yeah, it makes a big difference when you're on a new set of tires on this game everywhere. I mean, in every game. So yeah.
So you just said that this is the team of my heart. Next week they'll be fighting their last race for the title. What would you like to say to them?
I obviously hope they win. To not forget Ismail Fassi, FPR Ismail Fassi, and yeah, I wish them the best.
All right. Well, let's see how they will do with your wise words in the back of their minds next week. Thank you for joining us, and cheers. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. It looks like, unfortunately, Lighty has not joined us in the interview, which is a shame. I would have loved to hear from him, how he felt the last laps especially, and his fight with Diego went in this race. Either way, it's been a brilliant one. We all knew that Ismail would win it in the end, but even then, he even said himself it was quite scary by the final few laps as Lighty was getting closer and closer. He was potentially one that could have beaten an esports driver to the line. But that means let's have one more look at the standings as they are before everything. 411 both of them had, and FVR is going to have a lot more after tonight with a first and a third position. I don't think Lighty is going to get a penalty anyway. He's done an exceptionally clean race, as did both FVR drivers. Let's see what the stewards are going to say about the incidents that happened tonight. Now, let's see if TF10 can claw something back next week, because we'll have one round remaining, and that round is going to happen in Japan. Suzuka, a great place to finish off the season in style, and then we'll all know who can claim that coveted title of the Season 4 Competitive Speed Series champion. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. It's been an absolute blast once again. Let's see how the final round is going to play out. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you around very, very soon indeed.